For most of my life, progress followed a familiar rhythm. You learned a skill, you got better at it, and over time, that effort turned into opportunity. I've watched entire industries grow that way. Semiconductors, computing, graphics, software, but I've also watched those rhythms break. And when they break, the people who rely on old rules are always the ones most surprised by what happens next. That's where we are again today. Every decade has a dividing line, a moment when the rules quietly change. Most people don't notice it at first. They're busy, they're comfortable, they're following advice that worked 10 years ago. But under the surface, something new is forming. Artificial intelligence is not another tool layered on top of work. It's a force that changes how work itself is done. And when that happens, the skills that matter change with it. I've seen this pattern before. When computing moved from mainframes to personal computers, the winners weren't the ones who memorized the old systems best. They were the ones who learned how to think differently. When the internet arrived, it wasn't the biggest companies that automatically won. It was the ones who understood how networks create value. AI is the same kind of shift, but faster and broader than anything we've seen before. Most people think the advantage belongs to those who are smartest or most technical. That's not how it plays out. Technology doesn't reward intelligence in isolation. It rewards alignment. The people who win are the ones whose skills match the direction the world is moving, not where it has been. And right now, that direction is very clear. The first skill that will decide who wins is the ability to understand leverage. AI is leverage. It allows one person to do the work of many, but only if they know where to apply it. I've met countless talented people who stay stuck because they apply effort where leverage is low. They work harder instead of working higher. AI flips that equation. It rewards those who step back, look at the whole system, and ask where intelligence can multiply results instead of just speeding up tasks. They measure it by impact. They design processes that scale. They use intelligence to remove friction. This is not about working less. It's about working at a level where effort compounds instead of exhausts. AI does not fix confusion. It amplifies it. If your thinking is vague, your results will be vague. If your goals are unclear, the output will wander. I've learned over decades that progress accelerates when thinking becomes precise. The same is true here. The people who win are the ones who can clearly define problems, clearly define outcomes, and clearly communicate intent. This is why some people get extraordinary results from AI while others say it doesn't work. The difference is not the tool, it's the mind behind it. Clear thinkers turn intelligence into direction. Unclear thinkers turn it into noise. Over the next decade, clarity will be more valuable than raw knowledge. The third skill is learning how to learn continuously. In the past, you could master something and rely on it for a long time. That era is ending. The pace of change is too fast. Tools evolve. What works today will be outdated sooner than you expect. The people who struggle are the ones who see learning as something they finished. The people who win treat it as something they practice. This doesn't mean chasing every trend or jumping at every update. It means staying curious, testing ideas, letting go of pride, admitting when something new worked better than the old way. I've seen brilliant engineers fall behind not because they weren't capable, but because they stopped being curious. Curiosity is what keeps you aligned with the future. The fourth skill is judgment. AI can generate options, but it does not take responsibility. Someone still has to decide what matters. Someone still has to choose direction. This is where experience becomes invaluable. The people who win will know when to trust the machine and when to slow down and think. They'll understand context. They'll understand consequences. They'll know that speed without judgment creates risk. This skill separates leaders from followers. Tools don't replace leadership, they amplify it. And poor judgment, amplified, fails faster than ever. Good judgment, amplified, creates extraordinary outcomes. The fifth skill is the willingness to act before things feel obvious. Every major opportunity looks uncertain at first. If it looks safe, everyone would already be there. I've watched this happen again and again. People wait for validation. They wait for certainty. They wait until the path is crowded. By then, the advantage is gone. The winners of the next decade will not be reckless, but they will be early. They will experiment while others debate. They will build while others observe. They will make small moves, learn quickly, and adjust. AI rewards momentum. It punishes hesitation. This decade will not be kind to people who rely on effort alone. It will be generous to those who align their skills with how intelligence now works. These 5 skills are not trends, they are foundations. They decide who compounds forward and who struggles to keep up. And like every shift before it, the separation won't happen all at once. Then suddenly, I want to slow this down for a moment because this is where most people misunderstand what's really happening. They hear about artificial intelligence and they immediately think about tools, software, automation, speed. All of that is surface level. The deeper change is not technical, it's structural. AI is changing where value lives, and when value moves, entire careers rise and fall whether people agree with it or not. In every technology cycle, there is a moment when effort and reward disconnect. I've seen extremely hardworking people fall behind, not because they stopped working, but because they kept working in places where intelligence had already shifted the advantage elsewhere. At the same time, I've seen people with far less experience move ahead quickly because they positioned themselves where leverage was growing. That's not luck. That's understanding how value flows. One of the most important skills in this decade is knowing what not to compete on. AI is relentless at repetition. It does not get tired. It does not slow down. If your value comes from doing the same task again and again, faster or cheaper than someone else, you are standing on unstable ground. The people who win are the ones who move away from repetition and toward direction. They decide what should be built, not just how fast it can be built. This is why coordination becomes a powerful skill. As systems grow more complex, someone has to decide how pieces fit together. AI can generate components, suggestions, options, but it does not see the whole picture the way a human with experience can. People who understand systems, who can connect technology with real-world needs, become incredibly valuable. They act as translators between intelligence and impact. Another skill that becomes critical is patience combined with long-term vision. This may sound simple, but it's rare. AI accelerates everything, including impatience. They try something once, don't see immediate payoff, and move on. That behavior almost guarantees failure. Every meaningful advantage I've seen took time to mature. The difference now is that the groundwork phase is invisible to most people. When new platforms emerge, the early phase looks quiet. Few users, rough tools, limited clarity. That's when foundations are built. By the time something looks polished and popular, the leverage has already shifted. Those who arrive late compete for leftovers. Those who arrive early shape the rules. Patience is not waiting, it's preparing while others ignore what's coming. There is also a deeply human skill that matters more than ever: restraint. AI makes it easy to do more, faster. But doing more is not the same as doing what matters. I've watched teams drown in output because they never paused to ask whether the output mattered. The people who win learn to say no. They focus. They reduce noise. They choose depth over volume. This applies to learning as well. You don't need to know everything about AI. You need to understand the parts that connect directly to where you create value. Scattered knowledge feels productive, but focused understanding compounds. The next decade will reward people who can ignore distractions and invest deeply in a few aligned capabilities. Another shift that's already happening is the collapse of traditional signaling: degrees, titles, resumes. These things mattered when information was scarce. Today, proof travels faster than credentials. What you can build, demonstrate, and explain matters more than what you claim. AI accelerates this trend. People who can show results gain trust quickly. People who rely on labels lose relevance. This is uncomfortable for many, but it's also liberating. You no longer need permission to create value. You need competence, judgment, and the willingness to test ideas in public. Those who embrace this shift gain momentum. Those who resist it feel increasingly invisible. I've learned that every major transformation feels unfair at first. The rules change without asking anyone's opinion. Some people benefit quickly, others feel left behind. Complaining does nothing. Adapting changes everything. AI does not care how long you've been doing something. It only responds to how well your skills fit the present moment. The people who win in the next decade will not chase intelligence. They will position themselves around it. They will understand where AI amplifies human ability and where it replaces it. They will step into roles that require judgment, synthesis, and responsibility, and they will let machines handle the rest. This is not about becoming technical. It's about becoming strategic. Understanding where you stand in the system and moving deliberately toward where leverage is growing. That skill alone separates those who struggle from those who quietly pull ahead. And once that understanding clicks, the path forward stops feeling chaotic. It starts to feel obvious. There is another pattern I've watched repeat itself across every major technology shift, and it's one most people don't like to hear. When the rules change, the biggest danger is not ignorance, it's familiarity. People trust what made them successful before. They double down on it, they protect it, and by the time they realize it's no longer enough, the ground has already moved. Artificial intelligence is doing this now. Quietly. It's not announcing the end of old roles. It's slowly draining their leverage. Tasks that once required experience now require judgment. Tasks that once paid well now pay less because intelligence has lowered the barrier. The people who feel this first are often the most skilled because they have the most to lose. That's why resistance shows up before curiosity. One of the most valuable skills in this decade is the ability to detach identity from tools. I've seen engineers define themselves by a language, a framework, a specific expertise. That works until it doesn't. Tools change. Paradigms change. Identity must stay flexible. The people who win are not loyal to methods. They are loyal to outcomes. This is where adaptability becomes more important than mastery. Mastery of a fixed skill is fragile. Adaptability compounds. It allows you to move with change instead of fighting it. AI favors people who can reframe quickly, who can take what they know and apply it in new contexts. The goal is not to abandon experience, it's to carry it forward in a form that still creates value. Another critical skill is understanding incentives. Technology doesn't just change how work is done, it changes who benefits. When AI lowers costs, value shifts upward. Decision makers gain leverage. Integrators gain leverage. People who simply execute instructions lose leverage. This is not personal, it's structural. People who understand incentives stop asking how to work harder and start asking how value is rewarded. They place themselves closer to decision points. They learn how outcomes are measured. They align their efforts with results that matter to the system. This is why some people seem to move ahead effortlessly while others stay busy forever. There is also a psychological shift required. AI removes excuses. In the past, lack of access limited what people could do. Today, intelligence is widely available. That's empowering, but it's also uncomfortable. When tools are no longer the bottleneck, responsibility moves inward. Results reflect thinking, not resources. The people who grow fastest accept this early. They stop blaming circumstances. They focus on sharpening judgment, improving clarity, and building momentum. They understand that small improvements, applied consistently, outperform bursts of effort followed by hesitation. I've noticed that people who succeed in these transitions share a calm urgency. They are not panicked, but they are not passive. They act with intention. They test ideas. They observe feedback. They refine. This rhythm keeps them ahead without burning them out. AI rewards this steady motion. It punishes extremes. Another overlooked skill is storytelling. Not marketing hype, but clear explanation. As systems become more complex, the ability to explain what you're doing and why it matters becomes incredibly valuable. Leaders who can translate complexity into understanding gain trust. Teams align faster. AI increases complexity, it also increases the need for meaning. People want to know where things are going. Those who can articulate direction stand out. This is not about charisma, it's about coherence, making sense of change for yourself and others. I've also seen that fear creates delay. People worry about being replaced, so they avoid engaging. That reaction guarantees the outcome they fear. The people who thrive lean in. They learn how the system works. They shape their role around it. They don't wait to be forced. Every transformation has a window where effort has outsized impact. That window does not stay open forever. Early movers build momentum. Late movers compete for diminishing returns. This is not unfair. It's how systems evolve. The next decade will belong to people who understand this and respond with discipline instead of emotion. Who study incentives instead of titles, who focus on adaptability over comfort. When you see these patterns clearly, the noise fades, the confusion lifts. You stop chasing trends and start positioning yourself. And that shift, more than any tool or technique, determines who wins and who struggles to keep up. When you've lived long enough inside multiple waves of change, you stop asking whether the world is transforming and start asking who is prepared when it does. Every cycle feels urgent while it's happening, but from the other side, it always looks predictable. Technology advances, leverage shifts, old advantages fade, and new ones emerge. The only variable is how people respond. Artificial intelligence is not unique because it exists. It's unique because of its speed and reach. It touches every industry at once. It doesn't wait for permission. It simply changes the economics of effort. And when the economics change, behavior must change too. I've watched people make the same mistake over and over. They assume that what worked before will work again if they just try harder. They mistake familiarity for safety. They believe that stability comes from holding on. But stability has never come from standing still. It comes from understanding motion. The 5 skills we've talked about are not trends. They are responses to a structural shift, leverage over effort, clarity over noise, continuous learning over static mastery, judgment over automation, action over hesitation. These are not optional traits for the future. They are requirements. What AI really does is expose reality. It removes the illusion that effort alone guarantees reward. It shows clearly who is aligned with how value is created and who is not. That can feel uncomfortable, especially for people who have worked hard for a long time. But discomfort is often the signal that learning is still possible. There is a moment in every cycle when preparation quietly turns into advantage. It doesn't look dramatic. No headlines announce it. It shows up as calm while others panic, as clarity while others argue, as momentum while others wait. The people who reached that moment didn't get there by accident. They got there by paying attention early. Most people wait for certainty. They want proof that change is permanent. They want validation from the crowd. But certainty only arrives after opportunity has passed. By the time something feels safe, the leverage is gone. This has always been true. It was true with computing, it was true with the internet, it is true now with AI. The people who benefit most are not those who predict perfectly. They are the ones who prepare thoughtfully. They learn enough to move. They test instead of theorize endlessly. They refine instead of freeze. They accept that being early feels uncomfortable, but being late feels expensive. I've also learned that fear is often disguised as caution. People tell themselves they're being responsible when they're really avoiding uncertainty. But uncertainty is where growth happens. Every meaningful opportunity lives there. AI does not eliminate risk, it redistributes it. Those who engage early take small risks when stakes are low. Those who wait take large risks later when options are fewer. Another truth becomes clear over time. Technology does not eliminate human value, it concentrates it. As systems become more powerful, the importance of good judgment increases, not decreases. Poor decisions scale faster. Good decisions scale farther. The difference between the two matters more than ever. This is why leadership, thinking, and responsibility become more valuable in an AI-driven world, not less. Someone still decides direction. Someone still carries accountability. Someone still defines what success looks like. The people who understand this step naturally into influence, not because they seek it, but because the system needs it. There is also a quiet advantage that comes from simplicity. As tools multiply, complexity grows. The people who thrive are those who reduce complexity into clarity. They focus on a few things that matter deeply instead of chasing everything that looks interesting. They understand that depth compounds faster than breadth. I've seen this play out across decades. People who master a few aligned skills outperform those who collect many disconnected ones. AI accelerates this effect. It rewards coherence. It punishes fragmentation. The future belongs to those who choose deliberately. If there is one mistake that consistently holds people back, it's confusing activity with progress. AI makes activity cheap. Without direction, speed only leads to exhaustion. With direction, even small steps create momentum. The winners will be calm, not frantic, focused, not scattered, curious, not defensive, and over time, the difference will become obvious. Not overnight, not all at once, quietly. Then suddenly, people will look back and say it happened fast. But it never does. It unfolds slowly enough for those paying attention and quickly enough to surprise those who aren't. That's how every cycle ends, not with noise, with results. And those results will follow the same rule they always have. Value flows toward those who prepare before they're forced to.